So I can start now? Right. My name is Holger Strøm. I came to Kilkenny Design Workshops in 1970, in the autumn of 1970, as a packaging designer. And I was supposed to do, packaging design for the various things that were made in Kilkenny Design Workshops. And also I was supposed to do some other things in packaging materials, like corrugated board especially. Now, in that time there was a Christmas exhibition that Damien Harrington was in charge of, and he asked me to make some lamps for the shop, for the exhibition in the shop, and he specified that it should be 8 lamps. 4 of them should be like balls, and the other 4 should be cylinders. And I was wondering how to do that, and I decided that I should use pieces that are put together. And these pieces, there should be the same amount of pieces in the balls and in the cylinders. So in that way, there was sort of a strict job was designed. And I found out that I could use rhombs, because with rhombs you can make these figures quite easily. I made it out of paper and glued them together, bent the sides and glued them together, and Damien liked them, and I liked it also. It was quite good. Then Bill Walsh came down, our chairman, came down to see the exhibition, and the first thing he said was, "You have arrived." I think he said that to everybody, but I was pleased with it because I also thought that I had arrived a couple of months earlier anyway. And then he said, "Could you possibly make a sellable product out of that?" And I said, "Yeah, well, I should try to do that." And it took me a year and a half, on and off, other work, between the packaging jobs and the children's corrugated toy jobs and that sort of thing. And finally, in 72, I had decided how the shape of the modules for the lamps should be. And now I think I would like to show you how to put the lamp together. Well, I'll put a lamp together made from those pieces. And this is the modern packaging. It's not exactly the one that we used at the time, because I had distributors who wanted it otherwise. So I'll just show you how this works. And this is the pack, and here, and you have directions for use, and you have sort of a chart that shows all the possible things that you can do with the lamps, and then there's a little lamp also you can make by pressing out pieces here and putting them together. Now, I'll just show you now how these lamps work. So, the 2 sides are longer than the other 2 sides, and in that way there's tension, and that means that you can actually make the lamps fairly sturdy from very thin material, and also they become so flexible that you can make many different shapes with it. So you start with putting 5 together, and then another 5. I wasn't ever close to the sort of design scene, you might say. I was more a guy who was making packaging out of corrugated board, and all the time trying to make it cheaper and faster and better and stronger and all that sort of thing. So the place was also the architecture here was very nice to have a round one, and a lot of interesting people. There were quite, I think there were, I don't know how many designers we were at the time, but there were all kinds, and I was very pleased with that. So, and then I needed graphics, and I think Kilkenny Design Workshops were very, very large for letting Damien Harrington do the graphics for me, and he was my good friend also. We were a good team, I think. We had been making packaging together, and now so he was making packaging. He was making the graphics for the packaging, and then the design workshops also commissioned a lady who was very good at making sessions for journalists. In Dublin, there was an exhibition that I think it has not been very cheap. That was very nice to do. We had 22 journalists come to see to come together there, and we had exactly so many, also 22 write-ups with pictures of the lamps. So that was great. Now here we have it, and it's what you could call an example of rotational symmetry. Now it needs to have a name also. So I was wondering what kind of a name it should have, and I was reading a book about advertising, an American book about advertising. That was an example of that. There was a manufacturer of Japanese photography equipment, and how should that be advertised? And they found out it should be by having a headline saying, "From those wonderful folks who gave you Pearl Harbor." Now, I thought then, what is there any problem that I can use here with this lab? And there was the problem that some people couldn't put it together. So I invented the word IQ Light. Now, later I found out that IQ meant interlocking quadrilaterals, but that wasn't the original meaning. So that's it. Of course, I want it to be good and interesting, and to be so that you never tire from it. And I have, well, personally, I've had much joy out of looking at it every morning when I woke up, and other people are saying the same thing. And that's one thing. The other thing is that if you wanted to change the shape, you would pull the pieces apart and you can make another shape. And you can make it smaller, and you can even divide it into 2 or 3 different small ones. And but then of course you need 3 cables.